Under the gaze of the whole academy, Yanran Lu was the acknowledged prodigy and campus beauty. During the summoning ceremony, she called forth by Qi, the god of slaughter, achieving a feat for the ages. Lu Changsheng scoffed. Only 40% compatibility? And that's worth celebrating. Yanran's eyes turned cold. You, the bottom of the grade, dare judge me? The crowd jeered, calling Lu Changsheng a mere clown. A century ago, the mythic arena descended upon the continent. Gods across the world awakened. At 16, humans could use divine sense to awaken a god. Success granted divine power to fight for one's nation in the arena. But the ritual carried risks. Summoned the wrong deity, and you would be erased by that god. Lu Changsheng had been a high schooler in his previous life, yet somehow crossed into this world. He learned that today was the once-in-a-decade day of miracle. Unfortunately, the Huaxia pantheon had suffered a severe break in inheritance. Because of that, their side kept losing to the Sakura nation. On the dais, the city lord announced the start of today's summoning ceremony. Countless people looked on with hope. This might be the day Huaxia turns the tide. Lu Changsheng sighed inwardly. In this world, a failed summon could reduce you to dust. Then the Sword Immortal's daughter, Yanran Lu, stepped forward to be the first. All eyes were on her. With her talent, she should awaken a remarkable deity. But Huaxia had already lost twice this morning. If she awakened a powerful god, it would restore national honor. Yanran approached as the city lord silently hoped for a high-tier deity. The instant her hand touched the crystal, phenomena erupted. The elder beside the lord stared, stunned, a sign of a high-tier god. 3 divine silhouettes appeared above her, imposing and unfamiliar to Huaxia's records. Lu Changsheng tensed. They matched deities he knew from his previous world. The crowd buzzed with debate. Yanran's clear voice rang out. The god of slaughter's name echoes through the ages. At Red Cliff, the river ran red. I, Yanran Lu, humbly invite Bai Qi to descend. The godly image of Bai Qi slowly descended from the sky to the ground. Yet Lu Changsheng frowned. The Battle of Red Cliff? What does that have to do with Bai Qi? Wasn't it the Battle of Chongping? They're centuries apart. Zhou Hao urgently whispered, "Shut up. Yanran Lu is the Sword Immortal's daughter. She knows what she's saying. Don't question her here." The crowd erupted with laughter and mockery. That clown again, spouting nonsense. There's no such thing as a Battle of Chongping. A wave of sorrow washed over Lu Changsheng. So this is what became of Huaxia. Our civilization truly has forgotten its own history. The city lord raised his voice. Compatibility, 40%. Summoned deity, S-rank god of slaughter, Bai Qi. Yanran cast him a sidelong glance, her eyes glinting with pride, as if to say, "See that? That's real power." Still, she would need time to grow. All that remained was to wait for her father, the Sword Immortal, to return from the frontier for the coming mythic war. Yet Yanran did not step down. Her gaze lifted again toward the other 2 divine seals in the sky. The city lord frowned. What is she planning now? Slowly, Yanran approached another statue, a black-robed emperor whose very presence radiated sovereignty. Voices whispered through the crowd. That must be Emperor Taizong Li Shimin of Tang. He unified the realm as a youth and ruled as a legend. But Lu Changsheng shook his head. Impossible. Tang emperors wore imperial yellow. None ever donned black. As he walked closer, the divine pressure pressed upon him, and a name surfaced faintly in his mind. Suddenly, an elder cried out, "An emperor-class deity, the first appearance in a century. Summoning such a being means certain death." That elder was none other than Li Xian, headmaster of Tianqi Academy, the foremost of Huaxia's 4 great institutes. Even the city lord urged, "Yanran, you are Huaxia's hope. You must not take this risk." But Yanran's heart burned with reluctance. She knew if she retreated now, that Emperor's soul would vanish forever. Li Xian spoke up again. "We will not gamble our future's top fighters on a single wager." He ordered Tianqi Academy to expend 10 years' national fortune to stabilize the Emperor's soul, to see if any gifted child might recognize him. Then he turned to the gathered students, searching for someone who could name this deity. Though the figure resembled Taizong of Tang in surviving records, this divine image carried immense significance for Huaxia now. In a struggle for national fortune, Huaxia had already lost 2 decisive rounds to the Sakura nation. One more loss could spell irreversible ruin. Hear me, Li Xian warned. Summon the wrong god, and you will die. Who still dares to try? Voices murmured. Perhaps this emperor was not Li Shimin after all. A failed summon meant certain death. Yet Huaxia's sons were steel-hearted. A student immediately stepped forward to volunteer. Even girls refused to stand down. Chunyu of Modu Academy. I volunteer. More names and schools rose up. Shouts of "We'll die" for Huaxia filling the air. Lu Changsheng raised a hand, cutting them off. Hold, I know the origin of this god, and it may differ from the headmaster's reading. Lu Changsheng of Jinling Academy requests to attempt the summon. The crowd gasped. Isn't that the same clown who questioned Yanran earlier? Zhou Hao cautioned him in a quiet voice. If you bind the wrong god, it may cost your life. Lu Changsheng offered no reply. The headmaster regarded him with a startled admiration. This is a remarkable kid. Still, Li Xian doubted whether Lu truly understood the emperor's life. By the books, the closest match remained Taizong. Yet he chose to allow Lu the chance, provided Lu understood the stakes. Li Xian solemnly warned him to weigh the consequences. Lu Changsheng simply nodded. Lu Changsheng smiled lightly. Leave it to me. As for the consequences, no need to worry. I know this emperor's true life. On the opposite side of the arena, laughter erupted from the Sakura Nation stands. They mocked Lu Changsheng as a fool rushing to his own death. But behind him rose the thunderous cheers of his Huaxia compatriots. Lu took a breath, placing his palm upon the summoner's crystal. Instantly, a blinding crimson light burst forth, its pressure dazzling everyone's eyes. Yanran Lu stared in shock. Could he also be awakening an unknown high-tier god? The last place student surpassing her omen? The Sakura delegates gasped. Wasn't orange the highest divine luck tier? Is there something beyond orange? Even the K-Nation envoys gritted their teeth. Their realm had never seen even a yellow aura. Headmaster Li Xian spoke gravely. This is red divine luck, the sign of an Isis rank god. He explained slowly, white, green, blue, purple, orange, those are the known tiers. Yet few know that above orange lies red. The city lord gasped. An SSS-ranked deity. Does such a thing truly exist in Huaxia's history? Li Xian narrowed his eyes. SSS is the limit for gods, not for him. Even against equals, he'd crush them outright. Yanran Lu was speechless. Lu Changsheng's grades were mediocre, yet he'd summoned a being this powerful. The giant that emerged radiated colossal power, its presence like a living mountain, a sign that Huaxia would stand invincible. When Li Xian finally saw the figure clearly, he froze. Battle axe in hand, towering to the heavens. Could it be the ancient titan, Xing Tian? Lu smirked lightly. Headmaster, you should know better. Xing Tian was headless, eyes upon his chest and mouth at his navel. This is no Xing Tian. He sighed to himself. Can't blame them. Huaxia mythology has been lost for too long. Maybe that's why I'm here. Lu's voice rolled across the ceremonial grounds. In the primordial chaos, Pangu shaped heaven and earth. He raised his hand high. I, Lu Changsheng, humbly invite the Creator God, Pangu, to descend. The crowd fell silent. Creator God? What even is that? People murmured. The Huaxia spectators stared in bewilderment. How did Lu know Pangu's true name? Pangu, the one who split heaven and earth, who birthed all things, the supreme of all gods. If Lu could truly fight with Pangu, the foreign nations would weep in defeat. Then the system panel flashed before him frowny face character. Lu Changsheng, resonance rate. 1%, divine patron. Pangu. Meanwhile, within Huaxia's pantheon, each deity held rank, and above them all stood the creator god Pangu. Boom! A massive clang shook the realm as the news spread. A young acolyte lifted his hammer and struck 9 solemn bells. Their resonance rolled across the land like tidal waves. Far away, the sword immortal Li Qing paused mid-battle, thinking he was hearing things. Li Xian trembled with excitement. 9 bell tolls. 9, the number of supremacy, unheard of since ancient times. You've truly awakened the supreme god. Even Yanran Lu was shaken. Huaxia's strongest gods usually toll 3 bells. He triggered 9. The Sakura nation stands erupted in fury. Bakayaro, a mere Huaxia kid awakening a supreme god. Emperor Tokugawa immediately turned to the serpent handler beside him and asked, "Can you take him out?" The youth sneered, "A rookie chosen, even if blessed by a supreme. With his current resonance, he can't truly call Pangu on the arena. One strike, and I'll tear him apart." Tokugawa's voice went cold. "Our feud with Huaxia spans generations. He must not live. Kill this prodigy in the cradle." No sooner said than done. Sakura Nation initiated the lock-name God War. Pangu's towering form began to fade. The SSS tier is the known ceiling for gods. Yet it is not Pangu's absolute limit. At Liu Changxing's present resonance, he cannot summon Pangu onto the arena. However, he remains more than capable of calling other deities. As he stepped toward another statue, an anomaly occurred. The stone slab beneath him exploded, and a force lifted him into the air. Li Xian's face went pale. Sakura has burned 10 years of national fortune. They've launched a lock-name God War against Huaxia. In the next instant, Liu Changxing's body was engulfed by blinding light, torn from the arena and cast into a void-like realm before he could awaken his deity. As his form faded into mist, even Li Xian's power could not pull him back. Li Xian and the city lord roared toward the Sakura delegation. Despicable cowards. Even the gentle Yanran, Liu couldn't hold back. She cursed under her breath. On the Sakura side, morale soared. Watching the fury on Huaxia's faces, they sneered. Moments ago, they feared a genius. Now, he's as good as dead. If they killed Liu Changxing, they could reclaim the 10 years of national fortune they had burned. Meanwhile, far away, the sword immortal Liu Qing received the emergency alert of the national fortune war. His aide rushed in, panic-stricken. The Sakura Nation burned 10 years of fortune to force open the mythic arena. Their goal is to erase our prodigy. Lock-name battles can only target chosen of S rank and above. Once locked, both must enter the stage. Sweat dripped down the aide's temple. They'll exhaust their nation just to kill one man, truly vile. Liu Qing's jaw tightened. If our genius falls today, next year, I'll ride my sword across their capital. 2.5 minutes later, Liu Changxing materialized on the divine battlefield. Across from him stood the Orochi's chosen, waiting patiently. His power alone could shred Liu apart. Yet Liu stood calm and steady. He knew he couldn't summon Pangu. His only hope was that the Emperor God fixed by Li Xian's fortune seal would manifest again. The Orochi's chosen scowled. "What's wrong, boy? Lost your courage to look at me." But the next instant, his eyes widened. Liu Changxing's face held no fear, only a faint smile. "That snake head of yours would make a fine stew." Orochi's chosen laughed darkly. Sharp tongue. Let's see how long it lasts when you're on your knees." As their gazes clashed, a woman descended from the heavens, golden hair shimmering, divine light flowing, landing gracefully between them. She served as the arena's referee, the arbiter who would judge every strike. If Huaxia lost here, over half its population's fate energy would be siphoned away to empower the Sakura Nation. A translucent panel appeared before Liu Changxing. The mythic arena's rule prompt. Rule 1. Each match randomly spawns 5 gods. The chosen may select one to summon. Rule 2. Any summoned deity may fight only once and will never return. Rule 3. Best of 5. The victor survives, the defeated god and host perish. Liu Changxing read the terms and felt nothing but steel. Winner lives. Loser dies. Hundreds had already fallen to Orochi's jaws. Today, the ledger would be balanced. Orochi's chosen sneered. "Perfect. Just the sort of deathmatch I crave." Once both sides confirmed the rules, the host raised her hand and declared, "The match begins." Representing the Sakura Nation, Matsumoto Jinzo, S-rank chosen, bonded with the SS-rank deity Yamada no Orochi. Representing Huaxia, Liu Changxing, bonded with the SS-rank deity Pangu, the creator god. The golden-haired announcer smiled, her voice laced with allure and excitement. This battle will be one to remember. Darkness swallowed the skies as a colossal 8-headed serpent descended, its roars shaking the heavens. Matsumoto laughed wildly. "Yoshi, victory is ours. Orochi has already shredded 2 of your gods. Tremble, little boy of Huaxia." Behind Liu Changxing, 5 divine silhouettes shimmered into existence, their radiance illuminating the arena. Yet the crowd sighed in despair. Still no creator god Pangu. A single thought echoed through every heart. Heaven has forsaken Huaxia. But Lu Chongqing's eyes stayed locked on one particular figure among the 5, an emperor cloaked in divine majesty. A legend like him should never be forgotten nor buried beneath the dust of time. From the viewing platform, Li Xian shouted anxiously, "Chongsheng, that imperial god. It must be Tang Tai's only Shimin." Yet Yanran Lu frowned softly. "No, I think that emperor's aura feels more like Zhu Yuanzhang, the Ming emperor." Lu Chongsheng sighed inwardly. "Both wrong." He raised his head, eyes locked on the imperial shadow, and spoke calmly. The king of Qin swept across the 6 states. All lords bowed before him. His dominion and vision forged an eternal empire. His voice thundered across the arena. Descendant Lu Chongsheng pays respect to the first emperor of Huaxia, Qin Shi Huang. Boom! A burst of radiant gold engulfed the imperial statue, divine light cascading from the heavens. The figure solidified, stepping forth from myth into reality. Qin Shi Huang, the eternal emperor, descended upon the divine battlefield. The city lord could hardly contain his joy. Heaven bless Huaxia. But Li Xian sighed gravely. Alas, he's but a human god. Human gods are inherently weaker than their beast or demon counterparts. Though Lu Chongqing's resonance is strong, Orochi is a true yokai deity. This may end poorly. Matsumoto Jinzo burst into laughter. "Huh, I knew you couldn't summon the creator. And to think, you called forth such a frail mortal god." Pathetic. Lu Chongsheng ignored him. He turned solemnly toward Qin Shi Huang and bowed deeply. "Your unworthy descendant, Lu Chongsheng, pays homage to his forebear. The world may have forgotten you, my lord, but from this day forth, your legacy will live forever. You unified the 6 kingdoms, forged the Great Wall, and built a realm no invader dared to tread upon." As his words fell, a golden dragon burst from Qin Shi Huang's body, coiling upward through the clouds. System notification: Lu Chongqing's resonance with Qin Shi Huang, 60%. The Huaxia students erupted in cheers. Hearing Lu Chongqing's words, many realized for the first time that their civilization had once birthed such a magnificent emperor. Matsumoto Jinzo scoffed, his tone dripping disdain. So what if he's an emperor? A mere human god can't even stir a ripple before true divinity. Seeing Qin Shi Huang's puzzled expression, Lu Chongsheng explained quietly, "They are foreign invaders, oppressors of Huaxia." Qin Shi Huang's gaze turned to steel. His voice boomed like thunder, shaking the arena. "Those who offend Huaxia shall be destroyed, no matter how far away." The Sakura stands burst in a mocking laughter. "Huh, a puny mortal god dares to roar? Have you forgotten how your last 2 gods were torn apart?" Matsumoto sneered. As expected from an emperor, bold words, even if they're your last. With a flick of his wrist, dark energy coiled around him. "Orochi, prepare yourself. Let this mortal know what true godhood means." Orochi hissed, 8 voices overlapping in cruel harmony. "I anticipated a glorious battle, yet this fragile human dares stand before me? You'd barely feel my teeth." Fury flashed in Qin Shi Huang's eyes. Since the dawn of his reign, none had ever dared insult him so. Golden light gathered in his palm, shaping into a sword 3 feet and 6 inches long. Its brilliance split the clouds, the legendary weapon of unification. "This blade," Qin Shi Huang declared, "is the sword of Qin's dominion, forged for the will of one nation, one empire." In the distant stands, the warriors of the Indra Empire gasped. "That human god, he's really going to fight Orochi head-on?" Even the spectators from the Korean peninsula sighed. Pity the Huaxian nation. Finally, they summon a god, only to see him destroyed. Countless others watched with morbid curiosity, eager to see whether mortal divinity could stand against the might of a demon god. Orochi's eyes glowed crimson as its laughter shook the heavens. "Come then, human emperor, swing your little sword. Try not to disappoint this god too quickly." In the next instant, Orochi lunged forward, 8 heads roaring in unison. "A mortal dares defy a god? Insolent worm, prepare to die. Boom. The serpent's strike shattered the arena. Stone and divine light erupted skyward. The Sakura Emperor smirked, confidence gleaming in his eyes. It's over. This so-called human emperor will be torn apart like the others. From the stands came laughter and scorn. A human god? Pathetic. No matter his rank, his kind are born weak, unfit to rival true divinity. Then clang. A golden gate of swords burst from the ground, piercing the heavens. Qin Shi Huang's sword of dominion blazed with dragon fire. One sweeping arc, and an Orochi head was severed clean, the blade shimmering with the phantom of a five-clawed golden dragon. Thud! The severed head crashed to the ground, ichor raining like molten gold. The Sakura Emperor froze in disbelief. Impossible! A mere mortal emperor. How can he wield such power? From the Huaxia stands, Yanran Lu shouted with awe. He did it. The human emperor beheaded Orochi with a single strike. Even Orochi recoiled. Ew, that power is not divine. How does a mortal wield strength equal to a god's? Qin Shi Huang's voice thundered, calm and absolute. Those who walk with heaven shall live. Those who defy it perish. The strength I wield, he declared, flows from Huaxia's millennia of qi refinement, the pre-qin art of ascension, a path that defies gods themselves. Li Xian trembled with excitement. Qi refinement. I never imagined our ancestors forged such power. Orochi's 8 mouths hissed in unison. Interesting, but you only cut off one head. Flesh twisted, the wound bubbled, and within seconds a new serpent head sprouted, eyes glowing crimson once more. Ha ha, I am eternal, undying. What can a mortal god do against infinity? To Orochi, mortals were born to kneel. But this emperor, this man, had made it bleed. For that alone, he would ensure Qin Shi Huang's soul never reincarnated. Yet Qin Shi Huang stood unshaken. Gods or demons, it mattered not. He had faced death 1,000 times and never bowed once. If he were to fall today, it would be standing tall. As the first emperor of Huaxia, Orochi could no longer contain its fury. Arrogant mortal, let me show you what divinity means. All 8 heads unleashed torrents of black fire and venom, crashing toward Qin Shi Huang like a collapsing world. The emperor stamped his foot. The ground split open. His power rippled outward, shattering the serpent's assault like glass. Each step thundered like mountains falling. Yet gods and mortals were never meant to stand on equal ground. The emperor's divine aura flickered, his momentum faltering under Orochi's relentless assault. Orochi's wounds sealed themselves with grotesque ease. Its laughter echoed through the shattered arena. You cannot kill me, human. I am eternity itself. The Huaxia stands fell silent. Some wept. Some clenched their fists until their knuckles bled. They were not afraid of defeat. Only that their first emperor, their symbol of pride, would fall here again. Qin Shi Huang's gaze hardened. Not even the immortals of old could achieve true, undying form. Yet this beast does. In the blink of an eye, he vanished, then reappeared before Orochi, his blade already moving. Another head rolled to the floor. He would see which was faster, Orochi's regeneration or his sword. But within 2 brief exchanges, Orochi's fangs struck true, slamming into the emperor's chest with earth-shaking force. Crash! Qin Shi Huang's body hit the ground, cracking the divine arena beneath him. He knelt, one knee pressing into shattered stone, gasping for breath, his spiritual energy nearly depleted. From the crowd, a girl's cry broke the silence. That's our ancestor. He can't fall. Not here. Dean Li Xian's heart sank into despair. His hand hovered over the surrender sigil. If Lu Changsheng survived, perhaps Huaxia's future could still rise again. But how could he watch their forefather bleed for them once more? Above the arena, Orochi's 8 heads swayed like a storm, shadows blotting out the light. Its presence devoured all hope. And yet, through the chaos, the emperor heard it. The echo of war drums. The cry of 10,000 soldiers. The roar of Daqin itself. Slowly he stood. Blood dripped down his arm as his eyes blazed with golden fury. Then he spoke, his voice a command to heaven and earth alike. Under heaven, all lands belong to the throne. Insolent creatures, dare rage before me? In the next heartbeat, a divine shadow tore free from Lu Changxing's body, drawn upward by an unseen ancient force. One by one, golden silhouettes burst from the chests of every Huaxia citizen watching, their inner spirits joining into a radiant current that surged toward the arena. Those lights solidified into ranks of spectral armor. The immortal Qin Legion, forged by the first emperor himself, guardians of Huaxia's eternal rise. Qin Shi Huang's projection stood above the golden tide, eyes blazing. A chilling smile curved his lips. Now tell me, demon, how will you fight this? His voice thundered through the heavens, kill, and the sky itself trembled. Matsumoto Genzo, the Orochi's chosen, turned pale. Impossible! How can a mere human god summon so many divine spirits? Yet he steadied himself, muttering, they're still human, weak by nature. My Orochi is eternal. He cannot lose. Then a dark thought flashed in his mind. If he killed the summoner himself, the duel would end instantly. Prodigy or not, he hissed, fading from sight. I'll end your future before it begins. Whoosh! His body vanished, and in the next blink appeared behind Lu Changsheng, blade gleaming with demonic venom. Behind you, Yinran Lu and Dean Li shouted in unison. The blade sliced through the air, clang. Sparks erupted as it barely grazed Lu Changxing's neck, leaving not even a drop of blood. His eyes sharpened. Too slow. He seized Matsumoto's wrist and slammed him over his shoulder, thud, driving him deep into the arena floor. Gasps echoed through the stands. How? He's a new god's chosen, with only 1% resonance. How is he this strong? Lu Changxing smirked, voice cold as steel. Even 1% of Pangu's power is enough to reshape my body. That dull toy you call a sword could never pierce me. My flesh was reforged by the breath of creation itself. Matsumoto snarled, scrambling to his feet, eyes filled with fury. TCH, impressive human. But don't think you've seen my true strength yet. Matsumoto Jinzo's body began to twist violently, splitting into another perfect copy of himself. He grinned wickedly. You pathetic worm. You know nothing of arcane divinity. With a roar, he spread his arms wide. Shadow clone art. Two Matsumotos now stood on the battlefield, their energy identical. This is my true power. My clones inherit my full strength. 2 against 1. Let's see you crawl out of this. Lu Changsheng didn't flinch. His tone was calm as ever. The outcome was decided the moment you spoke. In a flash, he lunged forward and seized both copies by the ankles. Boom! The next instant, he slammed them together with monstrous strength. Bones shattered like thunderclaps. He released them and chuckled. Not bad. For an S-class chosen, your body's at least durable. The Huaxia stands erupted in madness. Lu Changsheng, invincible. Girls screamed, waving flags and crying tears of joy. Point one even yelled, I'll marry him right now. No dowry, 10 apartments free. Across the arena, the Sakura spectators were in chaos. Lord Orochi, please, unleash your divine wrath. Destroy Huaxia. The emperor of Sakura trembled, his face ashen that he knew it. If Orochi lost, the nation's entire destiny would collapse. He would go down in history as the emperor who doomed his own people. But no matter how they prayed, on the arena, the monstrous serpent was being shredded. Qin Shi Huang's imperial sword array rained down thousands of golden blades, cleaving Orochi's flesh again and again. Soon, the serpent's massive body was torn to ribbons. The first emperor's projection dominated the field. Yet just as victory seemed certain, Orochi let out a piercing scream. It had begun the rite of sacrifice. In an instant, the cheering Sakura spectators melted into crimson mist, their life force streaming toward the arena. Orochi's corpse convulsed, absorbing the essence of its own worshippers. Flesh and scale regenerated, power surging higher than before. Within seconds, the beast had fully restored itself, stronger, faster, and far more terrifying. On the other side, Lu Changsheng drove his fist into Matsumoto's chest, ending it. The moment the chosen perished, Orochi's tether snapped. The god's projection shattered into light and returned to the gate of creation. That was why Lu Changsheng hadn't struck first. He wanted to let the first emperor finish what he started. The serpent had to die, once and for all. Orochi laughed, its 8 heads coiling in arrogance. Foolish Huaxia god, you think you're fighting me? No, you face the faith of millions, the will of my nation itself. Qin Shi Huang's eyes gleamed like molten gold. Faith? You call that faith when you devour your own people? His voice, normally calm as iron, thundered with fury. Your so-called worshippers, mere livestock for your hunger? You disgrace the very word divinity. Across the Sakura stands, chaos erupted. Crowds fled in terror, fearful of being consumed next by the god they once adored. The emperor's tone softened, not with weakness, but solemn truth. I sought immortality all my life. The world called me mad. Yet now I see that pursuit was not for myself, but for this moment. For Huaxia. He rose into the air, golden aura blazing like the sun. May all under heaven be as dragons. May my name, the name of Qin Shi Huang, echo eternal across the ages. His light exploded outward, scattering into countless beams that rained upon every Huaxiao warrior in divine projection. The glow seeped into their armor, empowering the immortal Qin Legion. Their divine resonance with their gods surged higher and higher, beyond mortal limits. Yanran Lu's interface flickered wildly, her resonance climbing at a dizzying pace. And across the stands, every Huaxia citizen felt it, their blood burning, their spirits roaring to life. Meanwhile, the emperor's body aged rapidly, skin cracking like old stone. Yet his smile remained proud, for his dream was never immortality for himself, but immortality for his people. Tears filled the eyes of the spectators. Is this the strength of our ancestors? Immortal with a god's heart, his breath weakened, but his resolve burned brighter than ever. Even the king of the Britannic Empire stood frozen before the screen. Orochi devours his worshippers, and the Huasian god gives his life for his own. The difference is divine. Around the world, silence, then awe. So this is the East. This is Huaxia. No wonder they can never be broken. Qin Shi Huang coughed, his voice hoarse but commanding. Immortal Qin Legion, report. A thunderous chorus answered, shaking the realm itself. At your command. The emperor straightened, every wrinkle glowing with light. All troops march. Slay the invaders. Protect Huaxia. And then, the divine army advanced. Thousands of spectral warriors in golden armor surged forward, blades gleaming like dawn, facing the monstrous Orochi in one final, destined battle. Even Orochi was stunned. It could feel the human emperor's fading life force. Yet somehow, the dying man commanded a power that shook the heavens. Slash! The divine army of golden phantoms charged as one, their blades fell like rain, cleaving the serpent's heads into shreds of flesh and flame. Within mere seconds, the beast's regenerated body was torn apart again, its black blood flooding the arena floor. Orochi's eyes burned crimson. If strength fails me, then I'll devour them all. Another wave of Sakura citizens screamed as their bodies disintegrated into dust, their souls drawn into the serpent's dying shell. The Sakura Emperor's face turned pale. Stop! You'll destroy us all. Those who remained, nobles, priests, warriors, dropped to their knees. Please, great Orochi, enough. We beg you, die with dignity. From the stands came furious cries. The Huasian god gives life to his people. And you monster, feast upon us. There's no one left to sacrifice. The serpent trembled. Its essence tore apart from within. Even its endless regeneration failed. It watched, powerless, as its own body was ripped asunder by the glowing blades of Qin Shi Huang's legion. The emperor raised his sword one final time, his voice echoing like thunder. Orochi, your people have forsaken you. Now, by the will of Qin, be erased. Slash! A golden dragon erupted from the blade, roaring into the heavens before diving straight through the serpent's skull, annihilating its divine soul. The arena fell silent as the light faded. The outcome was clear. Orochi was no more. Lu Changsheng turned toward the fallen Matsumoto, his tone flat as death. Your god is gone. So are you. Crack. One step, the man's neck snapped clean. Matsumoto Jinzo died instantly, his body crumbling into ash. For a heartbeat, the entire world held its breath. Then the host's trembling voice broke the silence. What an unbelievable battle. Winner, Liu Changsheng of Huaxia. Current score, Huaxia 1, Sakura 2. The arena erupted into thunderous cheers. He did it. Liu Changsheng actually did it. Dean Lixian was trembling, his voice breaking with emotion. This is beyond divinity. A mortal who surpassed the gods. Even the referee bowed his head slightly, awe in his tone. Such a duel will be remembered for ages. Prepare yourselves. The next divine war begins shortly. In the center of the arena, Qin Shi Huang's golden projection wavered. He coughed twice, then slowly stood upright. Though his frame was bent, his posture remained unshakable. From the Huaxia stands came a deafening cry. Your Majesty. No one could understand why the first emperor seemed so frail. Li Xian sighed, voice heavy. He bears no worshippers, no faith to sustain him. He fought this war by burning his own essence. The emperor's form flickered, turning to drifting light. I rushed forward instinctively, desperate to keep him from fading. But he simply smiled, eyes warm and proud. Liu Changsheng, my time ends here. The fate of all under heaven now lies with you. His body dissolved in a shimmering dust before I could even reach out. Li Xian lowered his head. A god lives only through belief, and we forgot him. So he spent the last of his life to return for us. Tears streamed down his face. We, his descendants, failed him. Then, ding, the system interface appeared before me status. Qin Shi Huang, temporarily sealed. Condition, can be resummoned once faith energy is restored, resonance, 90%. I blinked, then exhaled in relief that he wasn't gone. Not yet. The first emperor was only waiting, and astonishingly, my resonance with Pangu had also increased. Thank heavens, I whispered. He's only resting. A fierce determination burned within me. If one day I can summon hundreds of gods and call upon Pangu himself, then Huaxia will never lose again. I raised my head, shouting across the arena. Qin Shi Huang hasn't fallen. He only sleeps. And when his name once more echoes across Huaxia, he will rise again. Li Xian's voice rang out, choked with pride. Record everything. Let his name be carved into history, forever. At that moment, a calm, sword-like aura entered the arena. From the shadows stepped a tall figure in white, Sword Saint Lu Qing, followed by his secretary. The next divine war was about to begin. At that moment, the secretary beside Sword Saint Lu Qing let out a sly, chilling smile. With my blood, she whispered, let the divine arena awaken. Raising her hand toward Lu Qing, she proclaimed coldly, from the Sakura Nation, Han Mamiko challenges Huaxia's Lu Qing to a divine duel. The match begins in 10 minutes. Lu Qing froze, shock turning to fury. Eager spy from Sakura? But realization hit instantly. If he were forced into this trap, Huaxia would have no one left to fight in the coming mythic tournament. Seeing her cover blown, Hamamiko stopped pretending. Her voice dripped with satisfaction. 10 years she had waited. 10 years beside the Sword Saint, for this single betrayal that could cripple an entire nation. She believed with fanatic certainty. Once Lu Qing fell, even a prodigy like Liu Changsheng would be crushed before he could rise. In her mind, Huaxia was destined to kneel beneath Sakura's flag. You've sealed your own fate. Lu Qing roared, drawing his blade in a flash. Behind him, his divine avatar ignited with power, sword light splitting the air. Traitor, your life ends under my sword. Elsewhere, Dean Lixian received the urgent report. His expression turned grim. His heart sank. Moments later, his voice echoed across the command hall. Sword Saint Lu Qing was ambushed by a Sakura infiltrator. He cannot arrive in time for the duel. The next divine battle requires a new champion. Outrage burst from the Huaxia ranks. Despicable. They dare to play such vile tricks? Without Lu Qing, our odds are nearly zero. 2 academy heads had already fallen to Orochi. Lu Qing alone had maintained a flawless record against Sakura's deities. He was Huaxia's final pillar. Now, the 4th divine battle loomed, yet no suitable replacement had been chosen. Behind Lixian, a majestic phoenix projection emerged. The dean clenched his fists. Lu Changsheng has exhausted too much in the last fight. This time, let me take the field. Lu Changsheng stepped forward immediately. His gaze was resolute. Dean, let me fight. My chances of victory are higher. If you go, it'll only be a sacrifice in vain. Li Xian hesitated, frowning. Changsheng, you've done enough already. The two prodigies behind him joined in, urging caution. Brother Lu, not every summoned god is one you'll recognize. The dean's wisdom and experience might give us a safer edge. Lu Changsheng met their worried gazes and turned calmly toward Lu Yanran. I'm not being reckless, he said softly. I simply know I can win. As his words echoed, a colossal celestial tower rose behind him, its jade-like walls gleaming under divine light, stretching beyond sight. Once, he began, I dreamed of an immortal who touched my crown and smiled. When I awoke, every hidden legend of Huaxia, every forgotten god, was alive inside my mind. Gasps filled the arena. The structure looming behind him radiated divine brilliance. Was this a glimpse of heaven itself? Then Lu Changsheng's voice resounded across the divine arena. In the heavens stands the Jade Capital, 12 towers, 5 tiers high. The immortal touched my brow, binding me to eternal life. At that instant, the world itself changed. Phoenixes descended from golden clouds, circling the Jade Tower as divine music filled the air. Dean Li Xian trembled, half in awe, half in realization. Enlightenment in a single breath, a mortal reaching divine truth, he murmured. So this is why he knows gods that history forgot. Lu Changsheng stepped closer to him. Now, Dean, he said quietly, do you still doubt my strength? Let me fight. The city lord hesitated. Your will is admirable, but the dean's knowledge of divine lore far surpasses yours. You're too young to die for pride. Lu Changsheng didn't answer. He merely lifted his gaze and recited. Phoenix soars beyond the 9 skies, reborn in fire upon Kunlun. With the vermilion fruit, it guards the mortal realm. Its golden light steadies all creation. A cascade of divine radiance fell from the heavens. The spectral bird behind Li Xian shuddered violently. He felt it, the spark of divinity flooding his god, gifted by Lu Changsheng himself. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The dean's ancient Xian bird had transformed, reborn as the phoenix, an entity lost to history. For the first time, everyone understood. Lu Changsheng's words were not arrogance, but truth. The young man smiled faintly. Now, do you believe I deserve to stand on that stage? I know the hidden myths of Huaxia, stories the world no longer remembers. Seeing this, Dean Li Xian finally exhaled a long breath, eyes glimmering with pride. It seems, Lu Changsheng truly is the fortune of Huaxia. He gestured gently for the young man to rest and prepare for the coming duel. Yet Lu Changsheng didn't move toward the seats. Instead, he turned, walking straight toward Lu Yanran. His tone was calm, but carried a divine resonance that shook the air. Now it's your turn. Wuan Lord, eternal name in history. At Changping, the killing god rose. Iron cavalry swept 6 kingdoms. Even ghosts trembled at his might. In that moment, the divine aura behind Lu Yanran surged. The war god by Qi, the slaughterer of 100 legions, was reborn, his phantom reignited by Lu Changsheng's divine spark. But such empowerment came at a price that Lu's life force began to fade rapidly, draining away with every heartbeat. The spectators could hardly breathe. The underperforming student of legend was now bestowing divinity itself upon an S-rank god. And Lu Changsheng, unfazed, simply smiled. He knew this would shorten his lifespan. But if his blood could light a single spark for Huaxia survival, it was worth it in that instant. He seemed larger than life, his silhouette radiant and unyielding. Without him, Huaxia would already have fallen. Above the arena, divine pressure condensed once again. The 4th battle of the mythic arena was about to begin. The host's voice rang out like thunder. Both nations, summon your champions. Representing Huaxia, the one who defied the impossible, Lu Changsheng. Representing the Sakura nation, the flower of the east, Sakura Momo. The Sakura crowd erupted in jeers and laughter. Huaxia must be desperate. They sent the same boy again? How pathetic. The emperor of Sakura smirked. eyes gleaming with malice. The shadow planted beside the sword's saint has finally been activated. He was confident Sakura Momo's divine avatar specialized in charm and temptation to TO him. Huaxia's defeat was already guaranteed. Momo tilted her head slightly, voice dripping with honey. I've longed for this duel, Lu-kun. Beautiful as a cherry blossom. Yes, but behind that sweetness lurked venom born of arrogance and deceit. On Huaxia's side, countless young men found themselves entranced by her beauty, their cheers turning to awed silence. Dean Li Xian clenches fists. Her charm ability pierces even divine barriers. Damn it, why don't we have any intel on her divine host? Momo gently placed her hand upon the summoning stone. Instantly, several shadowy figures flickered behind her, each radiating sinister power. Above the arena, the UI shimmered to life. Summoning countdown, 50 seconds remaining. Era Lu-kun, still standing there? She teased with a wicked grin. You'll lose your chance if you don't hurry. Panic rippled through the Huaxia stands. What's he waiting for? Less than a minute left. Summon your god already. Just then, Momo's ritual completed and a radiant aura burst forth. 9 snow-white tails unfurled behind a stunningly beautiful woman. Gasps echoed through the global broadcast. What deity is that? She's breathtaking. Even the monks from India averted their gaze, beads trembling in their fingers. None had ever seen this goddess before. Her presence was both divine and profane. Lu Changxing's lips curved into a faint smile. As expected, he murmured, the queen of fox demons, Tamamoname, one of Sakura's 3 great yokai. Knowing his opponent, he no longer hesitated. Within the final 30 seconds, Lu placed his palm upon the summoning crystal. The crystal erupted in brilliant light, waves of primeval energy surging outward. His eyes widened, then steadied. So it's you. Thunder rolled as a towering armored figure descended from the clouds. Marshal Tianpeng of the Heavenly Gate. Iron armor blazing under the sun. His rake splits mountains. 36 transformations defy all odds. Lu Changsheng had summoned none other than Marshal Tianpeng. Zhu Ganglai, the Heavenly Boar, Dean Li, and the City Lord stared in astonishment. Is Lu Changsheng truly summoning a yokai? Doubts rippled through the ranks. Lu's patron was a human deity, and a summoner's lineage usually dictates the class of spirits they can awaken. He had previously called forth Pangu, a human god. If Lu now tried to awaken a demon god and failed, the price would be fatal. From the dais, a ceremonial call rang out. The disciple Lu Changsheng welcomes Marshal Tianpeng, Zhu Ganglai. Laughter and sneers erupted in the Sakura stands. The Huaxian prodigy dares summon a yokai? Didn't those who called forth demons before perish upon the altar? The Sakura Emperor scoffed coldly. If he chooses a path of certain death, it proves he cannot awaken proper gods. He's forced into desperation. Yet in the next breath, the martial visage of Zhu Ganglia's colossal form seemed to peel away, revealing a tall, handsome man beneath, alive and commanding. The Sakura audience went wild with disbelief. What? How could this summon succeed? On Huaxia's side, cheers exploded. They did not understand the how, but they knew one thing. Lu Changsheng was extraordinary. Dean Li's face softened into a proud smile. Panga's legacy runs deeper than we feared. Perhaps Huaxia truly has chance. The Sakura Emperor snorted. A male form yokai. Do they think a man can resist Tamamo's charm? Foolish. Marshal Tianpeng stood, centered on the arena, 9-toothed rake held firm, towering, nearly 3 meters tall. Lu Changsheng couldn't help but be taken aback by the sheer scale. Tianpeng blinked, puzzled by the din. Why is it so loud out there? Lu Changsheng explained the situation plainly. This is the mythic arena. Foreign gods oppress Huaxia. He bowed his head and pleaded, Marshal Tianpeng, please put these invader deities to rest for Huaxia. To Lu's surprise, Tianpeng casually shrank his great rake, an almost comical, reluctant gesture. Old boar here, the marshal grumbled, only wants moonlight and peace. I'm no fan of endless bloodshed. Why should I care about foreign squabbles? He readied to withdraw. Lu Changsheng stepped forward and stopped him, voice urgent and resolute. Marshal, fight for Huaxia. If you stand, our people live. If you fight, Hua Xiao endures. Marshal Tian Peng lazily dug at his ear and snorted. Those crowds out there are deafening. My ears are about to get calloused. With the marshal clearly about to leave, Lu Changsheng stepped forward and asked earnestly, Marshal, would you wish to see Chang'e again? To stand once more with the great sage and Tang Sanzang? The marshal paused, surprised. Faith's thin in this age. The world's gone soft. You know Chang'e and that monkey and monk. Lu Changsheng smiled faintly. Don't underestimate me. I not only know of them, I can awaken them. Tianping's face twisted in disbelief. And just how do you plan to summon them? Lu's voice was steady, trying to kindle the marshal's resolve. Brother Pig, I know you hate being a pawn, but if Hua Xia's gods can be roused, if we marshal the strength of heaven and Buddha alike, we can tear this darkness apart and restore your honor. If you will fight for Hua Xia, he continued, I will free Chang'e, the great sage, and Xuanzang from their shackles. But today you must stand and fight. The words struck deep. A sudden, towering aura erupted from Tianpeng, the air itself bowing to his presence. In the next instant, he revealed his true form and seized Lu Changsheng by the collar, half amused, half angered. You ist with mischtust from Europa. Old Pig isn't so easily fooled. His huge hand gripped the youth's throat with crushing force. Lu steadied himself and urged, Don't kill me yet. First, behold my patron deity. As if on cue, a crimson human divine silhouette appeared above the arena, the primordial Pangu himself. Lu begged Tianpeng to release him before the grip tightened further. The marshal's voice dropped to a whisper. Pangu the Great? Slowly, he loosened his hold. His eyes shifted. Respect replaced skepticism. Someone who could awaken Pangu was not to be taken lightly. Lu offered, half smiling, Marshal, will you fight for us now? A clarity returned to Tianping's gaze. If Pangu pledges to stand with you, then so will Old Pig. Name the foe, any foe, and I'll strike them down. No sooner had the words left him than Lu Changsheng fixed his gaze on the woman atop the platform. Calmly he said, Brother, your next target is her. Zhu Ganglai followed that gaze and grinned broadly. A woman? Old Pig can crush her with one punch. Lu Changsheng quickly restrained the boast with a grave warning. Do not underestimate her. She is one of Sakura's 4 great yokai, the nine-tailed fox. Her specialty is seduction. She exerts a powerful allure over men. The Sakura stands erupted in derision. Look at him dawdle. The Huasian Wunderkinds already spellbound by Momo. With a thunderous shout, Tianpeng planted his 9-toothed rake into the ground, the impact sending shockwaves through the arena. In the following heartbeat, he assumed human form. Massive, battle-ready, prepared to stand shoulder to shoulder with Lu Changsheng. Unexpectedly, the marshal's rugged grandeur drew gasps. Even a woman in the Sakura crowd found herself awash with infatuation. From afar, the monks of India murmured among themselves, This ancient warrior's power is not to be dismissed. An elder in the Britannic pavilion wondered aloud, Can this masculine yokai resist Tamamo's beguiling charm? On the platform, Sakura Momo moved with feline grace, each step measured. Suddenly, she cast off her outer kimono, revealing a posture of intoxicating confidence. Her smile sharpened into an invitation, sultry and strategic. Lu Changsheng, why not join us? Become Sakura's champion. She believed wholeheartedly that if he switched sides, Sakura would shower him with honors and treat him as a noble guest. More importantly, she promised safety. In Sakura, a newly awakened prodigy would not be risked repeatedly in mortal duels. Silently, she unleashed a subtle enchantment, an offer cloaked as seduction. Come to Sakura, and she would be his bride. Dean Li Xian's face blanched. This was no mere tactic. It was a direct assault on hearts and loyalties. The city lord shouted in alarm, Lu, do not be tempted. Lu Changsheng inwardly acknowledged the danger. Her sorcery was indeed potent. Without iron resolve, many could falter. Even Hua Xia's righteous masses flushed. Who could blame them? Up close, the temptation was almost tangible. His answer, however, was absolute. He refused to defect to Sakura. Sakura Momo did not relent. She intensified the charm and advanced step by step. Unwilling to be drawn into further parley, Lu raised his palm and called forth the 9-toothed rake. His voice was calm, but the command in it brooked no argument. The nine-toothed rake was only a projection of a divine weapon. But with Marshal Tianpeng pledging to fight, Liu Changsheng gained access to the rake's principles and a glimpse of its daunting techniques. Sakura Momo, her attempt to sway him failed, dropped the pretense and sneered. What a pity. You had endless promise, yet you've buried your own future with your own hands. Liu Changsheng answered coolly. Even if he refused her offer, he would not bury his future. He recalled a phrase from a modern history professor in his past life. Dignity lives on the edge of the blade. Truth sits within the cannon's range. If one always cowered, the oppressors would only grow bolder. If he retreated now, how could he face the millions of Huaxia he represented? Huaxia offered wine to friends and steel to enemies. The Huaxia stands roared in approval. Dignity rests on the sword's edge. Those who offend Huaxia shall be punished, however distant. Chants and bold verses rolled through the crowd. Poised for battle, the arena erupted further. Who will stand in the breach? Only our Changsheng. Even bolder cries hailed him as Liu, bringer of edge. Far away in the Hall of Gods, a child quietly swept the corridor, unaware of the storm brewing beyond. In the next instant, a streak of golden light pierced the boy's eyes, forcing him to shield his face. The building's national fortune aura surged upward. The child panicked and ran to alert his superiors. Back on the arena, the duel began in earnest. Liu leapt forward, the nine-toothed rake whistling as he swung it with overwhelming force. Sakura Momo countered with a secret art. Mountain blow blossoms fade, willow leaves scatter. A folding fan spun into being, exuding a thick, intoxicating charm. Liu did not hesitate. One sweeping stroke of the rake cleaved through the fan, shattering it to splinters. Momo's composure flickered. Cold sweat broke out on her brow. A newcomer lands such a crushing blow. This one cannot be allowed to live. She retrieved the fan's shards and prepared a different assault, determined to break him on the next strike. Rapidly forming hand seals, she invoked the shinobi art, shadow clone technique. Instantly, multiple corporeal copies of Sakura Momo appeared across the stage, each an actual, menacing entity. She taunted, "So you bested Matsumoto, what then?" A brute does not grasp the subtlety of sorcery. Liu felt a flash of surprise. Her mastery of techniques far exceeded Matsumoto's. This was not a duel to be taken lightly. Sakura Momo's form dipped, movement like water. Blades slid free from their sheaths in a single flowing motion. She unleashed her clan's signature art. Second Sky, First Stream, Clear Air Slash, a hereditary sword technique whose very first stroke carried lethal, blinding precision. Liu Changsheng watched the incoming technique and felt his chest tighten. This strike was beyond casual parry. A blade of compressed ki severed the air. It struck true and sent him hurtling through the sky in a violent arc. Luckily, his reflexes were sharp. He stepped aside before the blade fully landed and managed to regain his footing. The Sakura stands erupted in scorn. A newborn. How could he hope to beat Momo? They taunted, voices filled with contempt. Even Momo felt certain of victory, pressing the advantage with ruthless confidence. Her shadow clones sneered in unison. Try to dodge this. Their tone dripping with disdain. Blades rained down. Sakura Momo's sword technique pummeled the space around him in a flurry of lethal intent. Liu stared at the torrent of strikes. There was nowhere left to hide. He roared, "Take my rake." If he could not evade, he would stand and meet the storm head-on. Channeling the Marshal's 36 heavenly war forces into a single, devastating strike, he unleashed a blow that felt as if it could split mountains. Miraculously, the rake did not cleave a clone. It struck Momo herself, precise and unerring. A hush fell over the Sakura crowd, faces drained of color. If she fell, everything might change. Momo's expression shifted from arrogance to confusion. Her clones were nearly perfect. How could he have found her true form? On the other flank, Temamo whispered an offer to Tianpeng. Kneel, and she will grant him a view of her full splendor. Spectators muttered. Could a Huasian yokai withstand Tamamo's bewitching artistry? Tianpeng's mind flashed with visions of Chang'e. In that light, Tamamo seemed pale and unbeautiful. He barked, "A stinking fox, what beauty do you boast?" Tamamo's shock was palpable. Never had anyone called her ugly in so blunt a manner. Before she could recover, Tianpeng charged, a pounding, brutal assault. Voices in the stands hurled insults. "Pig demon, look in a mirror. You're no Adonis yourself, and you dare mock our nine tails?" Tianpeng slammed his rake into the ground. The force uprooted stone. Tamamo failed to block, tumbling back with a backward flip to escape. She did not relent. Hands weaving intricate seals, violet light swelled at her fingertips. Both hands shone with eldritch energy. Chanting the incantation of her ultimate art, she swelled into a titanic fox form, an apparition of demonic magnitude that threatened to overwhelm even Tianpeng. "Feel the wrath of my celestial demon," she thundered, fury boiling forth in ninefold intensity. Lu's heart pounded. The fox's colossal foot could crush Tianpeng. If the fight continued unchecked, Zhu Gonglia's life would be at risk. Yet Lu would not stand idle. If need be, he would strike to kill and snatch victory from the jaws of peril. The nine-tailed fox unleashed Seida Nikko, Amaterasu, the legendary Yada Mirror, one of Sakura's 3 divine relics. Empowered by its light, her demonic aura surged, strength magnified tenfold. Martial Tianpeng roared, "Heaven and earth manifest." The 36 heavenly fiend forces erupted within him, his form expanding to rival Tamamonome's towering figure. Yet their inner power was worlds apart. Golden light gathered at her fingertips, her strongest strike, heavenly demon blast. Tianpeng blocked it effortlessly. His nine-toothed rake spun wildly, tearing the air. He seized an opening and swung. Tamamo barely dodged, her hair grazing the weapon's wind. Lu Changsheng watched, astonished. Tamamame, SS-ranked queen of the yokai, was being suppressed by an SS-ranked martial pigsy. Never judge by level again, he thought. Power lies beyond rank. The fox wiped blood from her lips, fury blazing in her eyes. "You damn pig, I'll roast you alive." The heavens darkened. Even the Huaxia stands fell silent, staring at the sudden eclipse. Tamamo raised her hand. Violet flames burst from the clouds and began to fall. It was Foxfire Inferno. Touch it once, and you'd burn to ash. Fireballs rained endlessly upon the field. Tianpeng's divine barrier trembled, fragments of aura scattering. Dean Lixin clenched his fists, unable to look away. In the next instant, the tide turned. Marshal Tianpeng raised his hand and bellowed, "Water, come forth." A surge of yellow lightning erupted from his body, spearing straight into the clouds. 2 divine figures descended from the heavens. Lei Gong, the god of thunder, and Lei Mu, his consort, hammer and whip crackling with power. Thunder roared as bolts rained down, illuminating the battlefield in violent gold. When the storm cleared, a massive crater yawned before the nine-tailed fox. She stared at it in disbelief. How can an SS-ranked god unleash such force? But the real shock was yet to come. A colossal vortex spiraled open in the sky. Waters from the heavens gathered, answering Tianpeng's call. The fox frowned, unease flickering in her eyes. "Where's he drawing that water from?" Tianpeng snorted. "I'm a marshal of the celestial river fleet. The rivers of heaven heed my command." His figure lifted into the storm, riding the winds like a god of battle. On Sakura's side, the audience fell silent. Prayer's their only hope now. Tianpeng steadied his grip on the rake, readying his final charge. The nine-tailed fox raised her barrier in desperation, even she unsure if it could withstand the blow. Then boom, a golden flash split the sky as divine and demonic forces collided. Marshal Tianpeng's nine-toothed rake struck dead center. The mirror before the nine-tailed fox shattered with a sharp crack. The shards scattered like falling stars. Tamamonome froze, her expression blank with disbelief. Her strongest attack, broken so easily, impossible. The Huaxia audience roared in triumph, the stands trembling with cheers. That move so clean, so powerful. Across the field, the Sakura spectators were silent, pale. They knew exactly what defeat in this divine war would mean. Tianpeng didn't hesitate. He advanced, ready to finish the job. His rake swung once more, slicing through Tamamo's form, yet meeting no resistance. He blinked in confusion. What? My strike passed through her. Unbeknownst to him, Tamamo had used her secret art, Golden Cicada Escape. leaving a decoy to take the hit. Now, her playful arrogance was gone. The fox's eyes were sharp, wary. This pig demon, brute strength unmatched, spellcraft superior. He has no weakness. She glanced toward Lu Changsheng. How could Huaxia summon such a monster? Lu met her gaze without fear. What are you staring at, old hag? Keep looking, and I'll have Pigsy smash you flat. Tianping chuckled. So that was a teleportation art, eh? Then, grinning, he replied in kind, casting his own technique, Aqua Light Step. In a blink, he reappeared before Tamamo and slammed his rake in her abdomen. She gasped, blood dripping onto the ground. Still, pride held her upright. With a furious sweep of her arms, she roared, summoning, rise. A rift tore open behind her. A massive silhouette descended, flanked by two phantom guardians. From the Sakura stands came a wild cheer. Behold, Lady Tamamo has summoned Shuten Doji, Ojetsumaru, and even Amaterasu herself. Huaxia is doomed. The divine phantom finally spoke, its voice thunderous. Huaxia's god, prepare to die. With a flick of his hand, for flying swords materialized before him. Another phantom followed suit, summoning countless blades from the heavens. Yet Marshal Tianpeng remained unfazed. He still had one trump card left. 36 transformations of the heavenly fiends, he roared, transforming into a mighty eagle that soared through the storm, weaving between the rain of blades. Escaping the barrage, he reverted to human form and spat. Cowards, can't win, so you call your lovers for backup? But his grin never faltered. The nine-tailed fox sneered. Still got that filthy mouth, pig? You've been running this whole fight. Tianpeng's eyes flashed. Running? Who said anything about running? He shouted, heaven and earth, manifest. His body expanded once more, colossal and divine, his nine-toothed rake growing with him. He lifted the weapon high, summoning his next technique, Celestial River Seal. A tidal flood of astral water crashed down, dissolving the divine phantoms in its path. The last specter darted aside, unwilling to touch the sacred current. How? It snarled. This damn pig's power, it never ends. Enraged, it unleashed its final, desperate strike. Purple flames streaked across the sky. They slammed into the ground with thunderous impact, tearing through Tianpeng's defense. The marshal grunted, his form engulfed in divine fire. The Sakura stands erupted. The miracle of Amaterasu. Even a fragment of her essence can destroy a demon god. Tianpeng rolled across the arena, divine energy fading from his aura. On Huaxia's side, faces turned grim. They couldn't believe he'd fallen. The Amaterasu phantom looked down coldly. In the end, you're just an animal. From the ground, Tianpeng whispered Changbao Qinshin. Then, to everyone's shock, he stood. A massive hand burst from the earth. It clamped around the divine phantom's throat. Amaterasu's eyes widened as her radiance vanished. Her power drained completely. Pigsy grinned. Yeah, I'm a pig, but I've never been anyone's meal. With a thunderous crash, he slammed the goddess's phantom into the ground. The crowd erupted as Pigsy's towering form stood triumphant. None had expected the demon god to be so cunning, feigning weakness, then striking like thunder. Lu Changsheng watched in silence. Every swing, every roar. It was as if Huaxia's very spirit had been reignited. At last, Amaterasu's phantom could no longer endure the blows and dissolved into scattered light. With his task unfinished, Pigsy turned toward Tamamonome. The old rage burned bright. Time to return the favor. With a thunderous crash, his nine-toothed rake cleaved through the fox goddess, ending her in a single strike. When the dust settled, Pigsy reverted to his divine form, the marshal of Heaven's River. Lu Changsheng stepped forward and bowed deeply. Welcome back, Marshal. You've brought glory to us all. But Tianpeng raised a hand. Stay back. Lu hesitated, a sudden dread welling in his chest. Something was wrong. The marshal slowly dropped to one knee, his divine aura completely gone. The entire arena fell into uneasy silence. Even the cheering halted. He simply didn't want Lu to see him, broken, fading. In Chang'e's eyes, I was a hero, he murmured. If only I'd been braver back then, maybe it would have ended differently. Then, weakly, he said, when I'm gone, find my master and my brother. Tell them I wasn't a coward. Lu clenched his fists, voice trembling. No, you'll tell them yourself. He turned to the crowd and shouted, People of Huaxia, honor our God. Dean Lixian instantly understood his intent. He ordered everyone to prepare offerings to feed the fallen marshal. Across the nation, millions watching the live broadcast bowed and prayed, sending mountains of food as tribute to the hero of heaven. In another realm, the Pantheon, an enormous boar silhouette began to stir. Pixie's eyes opened, gleaming with divine light. His phantom rose, ascending to the second tier of the Pantheon, the domain reserved only for S-rank gods and legends. The dean exhaled and said they should consider themselves fortunate. Lu Changxing had become Huaxia's greatest hope. On the other side, a long sword slid slowly back into its scabbard. The duel had reached a pause. Sakura Nation's Yai Zi Summon Lamia lay utterly still, life gone. At that same instant, the sword saint Lu Qing mirrored the motion and sheathed his blade. Yai Zi, at death's door, wore an expression of utter disbelief. Before she could finish, I never imagined such a gulf between us. She collapsed with a heavy thunk. Lu Qing, finished with the fight, kept his gaze steely, silently hoping there might still be time. Time flowed on. The host returned to the stage and declared, We have come to the final act of the mythic arena. Before the games, all expected Sakura Nation's dominance. Yet the gods' wills revealed different strengths, and Huaxia's stubborn spirit shone through. This final match would decide half the lands and peoples between the two nations. The host ordered immediate representatives to step forth. In the rest area, Lu Changsheng stood ready to enter. Suddenly a hand pressed on his shoulder. The city lord had arrived. The lord said in a low voice, You have done enough. Let me take the field now. Lu Changsheng quickly answered that he had no issue. He knew Huaxia's hidden divine history, and so still believed the odds could be in their favor. The city lord raised a hand, stopping him. Exactly because of that, he said firmly, This final battle should be mine. With Lu Changxing's current resonance to his deity, he can't withstand Sakura country's hidden trump. Don't forget, I was once hailed as a prodigy among the chosen. As his voice faded, a divine phantom began to take shape. The legendary undefeated general, Zhao Zilong, revealed himself in radiant silver light. A voice suddenly called out from afar, Old Bai, let me handle this. The city lord turned, a faint smirk tugging his lips. You're back, huh? Seems I won't get a chance to fight this time. Lu Qing chuckled, his tone laced with calm confidence. If not for Sakura's slippery spies, I'd have already made them taste despair. A system prompt blinked into view. Match start countdown. 30 seconds remaining. Lu Qing's gaze sharpened. No time to waste. I'll take the final victory myself. With a sharp whoosh, he vanished from sight and reappeared in the center of the arena. Lu Qing of Huaxia, he declared, his voice echoing across the stands. Who among you in Sakura dares to face me? From a Sakura stands, a man stretched lazily as if bored. The next instant, his figure flickered and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already standing on the stage's center, smirking. Takumi Yamada of Sakura Country. Step accepted. The Sakura crowd erupted in thunderous cheers. The name Yamada Takumi was legend itself. They were certain this final match was already theirs. On the Huaxia side, silence fell. None could understand why the divine child of Sakura, a man of such status, had left the capital to fight personally. Lu Changsheng frowned, curiosity flashing in his eyes. The dean spoke quietly beside him. He's Sakura Country's only divine child in 1,000 years, a double S prodigy whose power was never meant to leave the empire. At just 18, during his coming-of-age ceremony, Yamada Takumi slew Huaxia's third-ranked master, Luo Jun, along with his bonded deity, the East Sea Dragon King. To please his elder sister, he even ripped the Dragon King's sinews to forge a bowstring. Rumor says his bonded god is one of Sakura's 3 supreme kami, his synchronization reaching a staggering 80%, a number almost unheard of in divine history. Upon learning the truth, Lu Changsheng clenched his fist and ground his teeth. Yamada Takumi, if the Huaxia Sword Immortal is harmed, even if I must chase him to the ends of the earth, I will challenge him to a deity war. On the stage, Yamada Takumi turned his gaze to Lu Qing and sneered. So you're the Huaxia Sword Immortal? I've heard tales about you back in Xijing. Lu Qing raised his sword to point and replied coldly, "Spare the chatter. If you had not slain the EC Dragon King 10 years ago, Huasia would not have suffered years of drought and barren harvests. Those innocent lives would not have perished in that famine." Lu Qing's fury boiled over. He roared, "Today, between you and me, one of us will die." Yamada Takumi laughed scornfully. "Is that so? You should feel honored. Honored to serve as the weapon of Amaterasu. Its sinew shines in my sister's hands. As for those lowly people, you mourn. When the Sakura rises, they will taste supreme glory." Yamada's words inflamed the Huaxia crowd. They spat and cursed. Sakura truly are vile, sacrificing other nations for their own gain. Lu Changsheng fell silent and brooded. Such arrogance left no room for diplomacy. Weak nations have no choice but to fight. He vowed inwardly. They must be made to pay, to retract their scorn, to be broken until they submit. The host raised a mic. Both fighters confirmed. The match info would now be broadcast. The panel read, Yamada Takumi, SS ranked Seeker, Awakened Deity, 3S, ranked Susanomikoto. Lu Qing, both in personal rank and with his bonded godly Bai, stood a tier below. The dying empire's elder immediately ordered, "Send notice. If Huaxia falls, declare war at once. Devour the defeated nation's lands. Let the dying empire's banner fly across the world." The leadership of Bangzi country issued the same command. If Huaxia is defeated, they would claim its former stature without shame. The ruler of Tenzu Nation scoffed. "A pity. With war god Susanu's might, Huaxia is surely doomed this time." The envoy of the dying empire gave a low command. "Send word to Upali. Do not miss this chance." Huaxia must become the offering for the God Slayer ritual. On the opposite side of the arena, several divine silhouettes rose behind Yamada Takumi. With a single sweep of his arm, Susanu's figure solidified, his divine aura crashing down like an ocean storm. The Sakura spectators erupted. As expected of Yamada-kun, tear those Huaxia trash gods apart. Even though Li Bai had already appeared beside Lu Qing. The dean frowned deeply and whispered, "Changsheng, this battle will test every ounce of Huaxia's resolve." The host raised his hand, announcing the start of the final round. Li Bai lifted his wine gourd, took a long drink, and laughed heartily. Splendid. But the laughter faded. His gaze dimmed as he murmured, "A jug of wine among the flowers, alone, with no companion." Yamada Takumi's patience snapped, his tone filled with disdain. Spreading his arms, he barked, "Are all your Huaxia gods this arrogant?" Whoosh! A golden flash shot forth at blinding speed toward Lu Qing. An instant later, a sword struck the arena with a thunderous crash, the technique known as Heaven's Divine Feather Slash. When the dust settled, Lu Qing's right arm had been shattered, blood streaking the stage. At that same moment, Susanoo lunged at Li Bai in a burst of violence. The sound of their clash thundered from behind. Lu Qing knew then, victory would demand a cruel price. Without hesitation, he strode forward toward Yamada Takumi. The Huaxia audience was puzzled. Why approach the enemy head-on now? Then they heard him murmur softly, "When the Dao fruit ripens, 5 eyes open. When the sun rises, the stars fade." A golden hilt appeared before his chest, radiating divine brilliance. The dean gasped. "That's the Sword Immortal's Dao-forged blade." Lu Changxing's eyes widened. "What exactly is a Dao fruit?" The dean replied solemnly. "When a Huaxia seeker reaches the pinnacle of cultivation, they condense their origin, an essence born of faith and power itself. The moment a Dao fruit manifests, it marks the edge between life and death for any god-chosen." Lu Changsheng clenched his fists tight. Sword Immortal Lu Qing is wagering his very life. On the arena, Yamada Takumi's face froze. "You've gone mad. You'd burn your origin just to boost your divinity." But Lu Qing remained calm, unshaken. He knew the Dao fruit he forged through decades of war, tempered by the bones of countless foes, was priceless. Yet this battle would decide Huaxia's fate. Even if the Dao fruit burned away his life, he would face death as the Sword Immortal, without regret. Then came his voice, sharp as steel. "Sword come." All across the stands, every sword at a warrior's side trembled and unsheathed. In the next instant, they turned into streams of pure energy, rising into the air. As Lu Qing's blade descended, Yamada Takumi's composure shattered. He knew if that strike landed, only death awaited him. He instantly triggered Flash Step, retreating with blinding speed. Yet no matter how he moved, he couldn't escape the range of that radiant sword. Susanoo exhaled through his nose. Looks like I'll have to finish this quickly. He raised his arm to the heavens. Domain of heavenly might. Purple lightning cascaded downward, crashing toward Li Bai like a divine storm. Li Bai smiled faintly, murmuring, "The rock rides the wind one day, soaring 90,000 miles high." As his blade fell, a golden rock burst forth into the sky, shattering the lightning barrier with a thunderous roar. Susanoo sneered. "Impressive. Things are finally getting interesting." Then he raised his hand again. "Come forth. Aim no Murakumo no Tsurugi." In a flash, a massive sword etched with storm runes formed in his grasp. His voice dropped to a growl. "Thy divine judgment descends." The sudden strike caught Li Bai completely off guard. Lightning engulfed him, paralyzing his body as agonized screams echoed through the storm. Meanwhile, in a grand world council chamber, the leaders of every major nation had gathered. The representative of the Tianzhu Empire spoke first, his tone dripping with arrogance. "The outcome is clear. It's time we discuss how to divide Huaxia's territory." With a casual wave, a holographic map of Huaxia projected above the long obsidian table. As the victorious nation, the Sakura Empire shall claim half of Huaxia's land and population. As for us, the Tianzhu Empire, our demands are modest. We'll take only the remaining 1/3. The delegate from the Bangzi nation slammed the table. "Outrageous. Why should Tianzhu take the lion's share while we're left with scraps?" The Tianzhu official smirked, stepping forward slowly. Then, without warning, he struck, an open-handed slap that sent the Bangzi delegate crashing to the floor. "Are you questioning my decree? Perhaps I should let the glory of a Sherbois god cleanse your Hanseong instead." The Bangzi representative froze, terror flooding his eyes, and nodded in trembling submission. Back on the arena, the clash between Lu Qing and Yamada Takumi had reached a fever pitch. When the two finally broke apart, the air rippled with searing energy and drifting arcs of lightning. Yamada Takumi gritted his teeth, fury twisting his face. Inwardly, he cursed. This opponent was near perfect. His spirit, precision, and raw strength all exceeded what any SS-ranked God-chosen should possess. Yamada Takumi realized it at last. If he didn't act now, this duel was already lost. He lifted his head, his voice filled with mockery and temptation. "You won't last much longer. When your origin burns away, you'll be nothing but a lamb waiting for slaughter. Join the Sakura Empire. I'll grant you power, wealth, and even restore your divine core myself. What do you say?" Lu Qing said nothing. His silence was sharper than any sword. A flash of steel tore through the air. Clang! The impact echoed like thunder, sending Yamada sprawling across the stage. Lu Qing advanced, his blade lowered, tone calm but chilling. I just saw fear in your eyes." Yamada tilted his head and laughed coldly. "So what? I admit it. You're stronger than me." He pointed skyward, grin widening. "But your so-called Huaxia god won't hold out much longer." On the other side of the arena, Li Bai stood amidst the raging lightning. Eyes shut tight, he endured the tearing pain of thunder, whispering to himself, "I can't fall. Not here." In the stands, Emperor Tokugawa's face turned dark. He hadn't expected the Huaxia gods to be so fierce, but in his eyes, it was nothing more than a delay of defeat. Yamada lowered his gaze, voice rising like divine judgment. "Behold the light of the gods, Sun Mikoto, high heaven's coldest executioner. Your false god will soon be judged." Lu Qing met his gaze, voice cutting through the storm like a blade. "If gods are not greedy, why can't they endure defiance? If gods are not cruel, why hold the fate of millions in their hands? Then tell me, what glory do the gods truly hold? The fallen Huaxia soldiers, the starving corpses across the land, every face burned into memory. We are free men. Who among us has the right to stand above all others?" Watching everything unfold, Lu Changsheng clenched his fists. He knew, if he didn't act now, Huaxia would lose everything. Drink deep while life allows, he shouted toward the arena. Let not the golden cup face the moon in vain. The crowd erupted. Thousands of Huaxia voices echoed the same verse in unison. The power woven within those words surged through Li Bai's body. The divine chains that bound him began to crack apart. A few drops of golden liquor slid past his lips, and a blazing barrier burst outward, cutting through the lightning itself. The Sakura spectators gasped. Impossible. How did he break through divine judgment? Even Susanu's expression shifted. He could feel it. His opponent was now protected by an unknown divine force. So, after all these eons, you forced me to draw this blade again. Susanu muttered, pulling the Aim no Murakumo, the Sky Cluster sword, from its sheath. He grinned wickedly. Tell me, poet of Huaxia, are you ready to die? Li Bai gritted his teeth, feeling the crushing weight of that sword's aura. He knew he couldn't meet it head-on. But Susanu only sneered, voice thick with mockery. Your strength? It's like a trainee who's been practicing for 2.5 years and still hasn't debuted. With that, he swung again. Lightning howled as it crashed down toward Li Bai. Yamada Takumi's confidence surged. I possess thunder armor and a warrior's divine body. You've already spent your essence. What can you possibly fight me with now? Lu Qing raised his blade, his voice ringing clear. If one strike fails, then I'll strike again. If 1,000 strikes fail, then I'll forge 10,000 more. His voice boomed like thunder. Even if the road ahead is perilous, I'll walk it without regret. As the words fell, he kicked off the ground. Air rippled, and his sword descended once more upon Yamada Takumi with unstoppable force. Susanu roared, demanding whether Li Bai dared draw his sword and meet him. To everyone's surprise, Li Bai offered no answer. He simply tilted his head back and drained another mouthful of wine. Fury flared in Susanu's eyes. Are all Huaxia gods so arrogant? He spat. Then, shockingly, his full-powered downward stroke sliced through empty air. Susanu's eyes flicked upward. Something was amiss overhead. A pale green lotus phantom suddenly bloomed above them. This was Li Bai's move unleashed after drawing his blade. The fabled Qing Lotus One Sword. Li Bai sheathed his posture and murmured, "This blade's name is the Qing Lotus Sword Song." Yet even Li Bai hadn't expected Susanu to evade every single blade perfectly. And then, in an instant, Susanu shattered the sword song's follow-through with heavenly thunder myriad forms. The Sakura crowd sneered in delight, as expected of the war god Susanu. Those Huaxia gods are done for. Even the dean's face fell. He whispered, "The Sword Saint's greatest move has been spent. Holding him now will be nearly impossible." Huaxia's chances here look grim. Hearing that, I felt panic spike. No, there's still a chance. The Li Bai I remember has more to show. I shouted. Susanu surged again, launching a fresh round of assaults. His voice thundered. Your technique is wondrous, but you face the bearer of Sakura's hope. I fight for my people. Li Bai steadied himself after being pushed back, chin raised as he retorted without fear. You fight for the people? All I see from you is endless slaughter and cruelty. Your lofty words are mere veils to hide your true nature. Susanu's gaze froze, cold as a blade. You lowly lesser god, dare to judge me? He laughed, furious and wild. Today I will shut that filthy mouth of yours forever. A thunderous clang shook the arena. Susanu's strike sent Li Bai hurtling through the air. His sword, the Qing Lotus Blade, shattered mid-flight, splintering into countless fragments that rained down like falling stars. The Huaxia spectators froze, whispering in disbelief, that can't be. The Sword Immortal's blade, broken? Is the Sakura 3's god truly invincible? Li Bai crashed to one knee, body trembling. Blood traced the corner of his lips as he smiled bitterly. The road ahead is long and hard. Who would have thought Li Bai would fall, not in Chang'an, but to a foreign god's hand? Watching in horror, Lu Changsheng could hold back no longer. Everyone, open the ancient texts, recite his verses, he shouted. He turned to the roaring crowd. Only through your voices can we awaken the poet immortal's divinity. His voice rose with reverence. He is not merely a sword immortal. He is Li Bai, the poet immortal. The entire stadium erupted into unified chant. As the verses rang out, laughing skyward as I step out the door, We are no weeds of the field, and ride the wind and cleave the waves. My sail shall pierce the vast sea. Li Bai's aura exploded, power surging like a tide. He felt a resonance deep within. These verses, though unknown, pulsed through his very blood, ancient and eternal. Susanu's eyes widened in disbelief. How could a dying foe suddenly gain such monstrous strength? And then my own voice joined the chorus. Sword Chi spans 30,000 miles. Its light chills 19 provinces. A blinding sword light split the heavens. Susanu's face twisted in rage within the radiance. Insects of Huaxia, you've enraged me beyond redemption, he roared, thunder shaking the arena. The Sakura spectators trembled in shock, for their war god was now wreathed in dark miasma, his divine glow replaced by rot and decay. I understood instantly. Yamada Takumi had always treated life as worthless. Naturally, his god Susanoo reflected the same cruelty and bloodlust. Susanoo's voice echoed cold and low. Huaxia god, are you ready? I will drown you in despair within the deepest dark. Li Bai straightened, his eyes narrowing in resolve. The moment Susanoo uttered the word decay, black mist surged forth like a living tide, devouring everything. I clenched my fists. The fallen Susanoo's power was now an enigma, and for the poet immortal, the true trial had only begun. Li Bai retreated swiftly, dodging the waves of black mist sweeping across the arena. But even the most vigilant falter once. The decay surged from behind, engulfing him in an instant. It's over. Huaxia is finished. The dean stumbled back, despair clouding his eyes. Yet miraculously, that same mysterious barrier shimmered to life once more, shielding Li Bai from annihilation. But something was wrong, terribly wrong. The once vigorous poet immortal was now frail and aged, his hair turned silver, his body trembling under the weight of time. That's the power of time. Lu Yinren gasped. In this state, he can't possibly fight back. In the audience, Lu Chongqing took a deep breath, his voice trembling. No, it's not over yet. All know Li Bai for his sword, he declared. But his true brilliance lies not in steel, only in verse. On the stage, Susa grinned as the corruption gnawed at Li Bai, then swung his blade downward with a roar. The impact unleashed a storm of force. Li Bai was sent crashing against the far end of the arena. Susanoo laughed maniacally. Pathetic Huaxia god, I'll see your divinity trampled under Sakura's feet. Li Bai staggered to his feet, gasping, despair burning in his eyes. Is this where it ends? Lu Chongsheng clenched his fists. He knew that another verse could reignite Li Bai's divine spark, but it would destroy him in return. Looking around at the anxious faces behind him, he made his choice. Lifting his head, he shouted to the heavens. Life is but a traveler's stop, death the soul's return. Heaven and earth are but one inn, where all weep for the dust of ages. Instantly, the crowd understood it was a new invocation, a second divine awakening. Pain tore through Lu Chongqing's body as he fell to his knees, trembling violently. Chongsheng, stop, you'll die, the dean cried out. But he ignored them, his voice raw and defiant as he forced out another verse. The words reached Li Bai's ears, and in that moment, realization dawned. Human sorrow was but fleeting dust upon the eternal river of time. With the last of Lu Chongqing's strength, he shouted one final verse. Heaven gave me my gift for a reason. Though my wealth be gone, it shall return again. A surge of blinding light consumed the arena. Li Bai vanished from sight, each step he took blooming into azure lotus petals. Clang! His blade sang across the void, a sound that split heaven and earth. With 7 stars beneath my feet, I drink the sun and moon. Li Bai roared. His sword light tore through the skies, its rhythm pulsing with the flow of time itself. Susanoo's eyes widened in disbelief as his divine power unraveled, layer by layer, beneath Li Bai's sword aura. Impossible! The Eastern swordsman had mastered the power of time itself. Meanwhile, Yamada Takumi, broken, bloodied, but still grinning, lay on the ground, watching the chaos above. This victory will still be mine, he rasped. To him, the dying swordsman Li Qing was already finished. A spent arrow, nothing more. He turned his gaze toward the main battlefield. Even if the sword immortal suppresses his own god, what difference does it make? The end is already written. Susanoo, despite his fury, couldn't deny it. The man before him was the greatest opponent he had ever faced. Yet pride burned brighter than fear. Without the blood I've spilled, he roared, how could I claim the right to represent Sakura? His words ignited the crowd. Across the stands, the people of Sakura cheered wildly, exalting their war god as the guardian of the night. In the royal booth, the emperor's wrinkled face twisted into a cruel smile. With his flood of faith, Huaxia is already lost. The battle shifted violently. Susanoo entered his rage form, his divine energy surging skyward. One strike, Li Bai was hurled dozens of meters back. Before he could recover, a storm of lightning cascaded down, swallowing him whole. He raised his blade in desperation, but the torrent consumed him, his white robes flashing faintly through the electric storm. Watching from below, Lu Changsheng clenched his fists. As the air of divine resonance, he knew this was not Li Bai's end. Li Bai, the one called Poet Immortal, whose brilliance outshone every scholar of the Tang, whose legend transcended time itself. But Changsheng was broken and incomplete. Forcing a divine invocation now could kill him outright. Yet as he looked into the eyes of his desperate countrymen and saw Li Bai bloodied and fading, he understood there was no other path. His thoughts raced through an ocean of verses, searching, reaching, until one ancient poem flared to life within his mind. The Song on the River. The very verse Li Bai wrote when he shattered the limits of mortality. Drawing in his final breath, Lu Changsheng screamed to the heavens. Drunk, I shake the 5 sacred peaks. My verse laughs upon the endless sea. The words turned into radiant golden sigils that sank into Li Bai's brow. Time itself froze. A shadow spanning 1,000 years overlapped his soul, and a memory of the true immortal poet awakened once more. The azure lotus sword sang, a cry like a dragon's roar. Brilliant aura erupted skyward as the poet immortal of the Tang dynasty awakened once more. Echoes of spirits surrounded him, scholars, heroes, and ancient souls. To surpass every poet of past and future, Li Bai had once vowed. They praised his eternal works, Bring in the Wine, setting out from Baidi City at dawn, verses immortal beyond time. Li Bai stood within that memory, reborn in the golden streets of Chang'an, hearing the voices of thousands chanting his name. Yet on the arena, he stood still, as if frozen in thought. Down below, Lu Changsheng clenched his fists. No response? Has the poet's divinity failed to awaken? Then, the sword shimmered, its reflection transformed into the shape of a brush. His voice echoed like thunder. Cut away the chains of the past. Only now do I know who I am. A streak of emerald light, swift as lightning, pierced straight through Susanoo's divine body. The god of the east fell, disbelief carved into his fading eyes. How could he still have power left? Li Bai sheathed his sword slowly. This blade, he said, carries the fire of my youth, the arrogance of a man who once believed the world could be rewritten by words. He gazed down at Susanoo's fading form. You no longer need to bear the weight of that body. Accept defeat and rest. The storm stilled. Susanoo's form dissolved into motes of light and drifted away with the wind. Yamada Takumi froze in shock. Then realization struck. If he killed Li Qing, victory could still be his. He lunged forward, only for Li Qing's blade to pierce his abdomen first. His expression of disbelief mirrored his god's final look moments ago. The Sakura audience erupted in chaos, voices filled with panic. The Huaxia stands roared back in triumph. The entire arena trembled beneath their cheers. "Lu God, forever the god," they cried. On the stage, Li Qing sat cross-legged, his breathing calm once more. Behind him, Li Bai's spirit form began to change, shedding its old radiance for a divine, transcendent glow. A golden UI panel flickered to life, frowny face system notice. Li Qing and Li Bai, dual ascension achieved. The dean leapt to his feet. The sword immortal has reforged his Tao core. Both his divine rank and mortal level have risen. Rebirth through nirvana. The city lord turned, astonished. What is this new Tao core called? The dean exhaled slowly, voice trembling with awe. The twin arts of sword and poetry. Unbelievable. Chongqing never stopped surprising us. The crowd roared. Thunderous applause echoed through the divine arena. At the center, Li Bai raised his voice in calm defiance. Young nobles of Wuling ride east through the golden market, white steeds dancing upon the spring wind. His words rippled across the sky, power resonating like a divine tide. A flash of light burst from Li Qing's severed arm. In seconds, golden energy surged. His arm regenerated, whole once more. The host's voice boomed. Mythic Arena, Round 1. Huaxia versus Sakura. Final score, 3-2. Victory, Huaxia. A comeback from the brink. Let 2 slip, then win 3 straight. Glory to Huaxia. And now, our MVP, Lu Changsheng. Step forward to claim your nation's spoils of war. Hell you God! Hell you God! Up on stage, the crowd screamed. As Lu Changsheng ascended the platform, a glowing UI panel appeared. Option 1. Seize half of Sakura's population and destiny. Option 2. Seize half of Sakura's territory and destiny. He smiled faintly. Huaxia has never lacked for people. But land. Land is the foundation of strength. With a firm hand, he tapped option 2. The heavens split open. A colossal crimson dragon burst from the clouds, soaring across the firmament and devouring half of Sakura's lands in a single breath. Watching his empire vanish from the map, the Sakura Emperor's eyes rolled back. He collapsed, unconscious. A new golden banner scrolled across the sky, frowny face, global rank update. Huaxia, rank number 9. But before the cheers could fade, new alerts flared. Rome, India, Norland, Andes Federation. Challenge issued. Sakura Nation. The city lord frowned. For nations challenging Sakura? Weren't they allies? Lu Changxing chuckled, his tone cold as steel. When the prey falls, the wolves devour the corpse. So it's always been. Then, a sharp ping. Main god resonance. Pangu plus 10% synchronization. His expression hardened. He stared at the rising numbers on the glowing interface. So, that's it. Summoning divine allies strengthens my link to the prime god. He turned his gaze skyward, voice solemn and resolute. If Huaxia's destiny keeps climbing, summoning Pangu on the mythic stage will no longer be just a dream. The divine trait, entries, Lu Changxing realized, were fragments drawn from the deities he had blessed, each one granting a permanent enhancement to divine attributes. His core technique, ninefold mystic art, not only nullified all damage to his soul, but also healed the wounds he had once suffered from overusing god-gift rituals, which meant he could now grant divinity freely, empowering nameless gods without fear of backlash. Meanwhile, in the depths of infernal purgatory, beneath Sakura Nation's western capital of Saikyo, the goddess Amaterasu sat upon her obsidian throne, watching the divine screen replay Huaxia's victory. Her expression didn't show sorrow for her fallen brother, Susanoo, only amusement. Fascinating, she murmured, lips curling in a cruel smile. But when news reached her that Sakura's allies, Rome, Bharat, and others, had turned against her nation, her amusement vanished, replaced by icy fury. Greedy hypocrites, they will all pay. She raised her hand, black mist swirling in her palm. This round, Sakura forfeits. But when my preparations are complete, I'll erase them one by one. The dark energy seeped into the humanoid vessel before her. It was her outer incarnation, a clone forged through divine shadow arts. The air trembled as the clone's aura exploded outward, distorting the space around her. Her attendants dropped to their knees, trembling uncontrollably. None dared to speak. The once radiant sun goddess now radiated a terrifying, abyssal darkness. Moments later, the forfeit announcement appeared across the mythic arena. The cost: Sakura was to cede its capital, Kyoto, to the victors of the previous round. The citizens of Kyoto fell into silence, faces pale, hope extinguished. In contrast, Huaxia's audience erupted in cheers. No one expected a bonus reward from the enemy's surrender. The dean exhaled deeply. Such is the fate of the defeated. His gaze dimmed. Those branded with the slave sigil will lose their divinity, reduced to soulless vessels, dying far from home. 3 of Huaxia's cities however, were ceded to foreign powers as part of the post-battle reparations. Hearing this, Lu Changsheng felt a pang of sorrow. He could almost picture the countless displaced compatriots now suffering under foreign rule. Meanwhile, the High Council of Bharata denounced the Sakura nation for cowardice, mocking them for yielding territory to Huaxia instead of facing them in open combat. When the bearded general asked whom Bharata would challenge next, the room fell silent. The holy son of Bharata spoke calmly. Rome and Greece occupy the top two ranks. The lesser nations are ambitious yet worthless. No gain lies there. Therefore, he declared, our next opponent shall be Huaxia. The general's eyes widened. Huaxia had just crushed the Sakura nation completely. Worse still, a prodigy like Lu Changsheng had emerged. Defeating them would not be easy. Yet the holy son only smirked. Strong or not, their gods are crippled. He explained that Huaxia's divinities lost their true godhood millennia ago in the ancient wars. Their deities can barely reach divine general rank now. As for divine kings, non-existent. The general laughed at his own fear. With our countless divine kings, victory will be effortless. The holy son's eyes gleamed with malice. Soon, Huaxia's fragile gods will be erased from the heavens. The general's heart chilled. Was this truly the same ascetic monk he once revered? Then, upon the arena's broadcast platform, the host reviewed the match cue with an intrigued smile. Next round, Bharata challenges Huaxia, he announced. The declaration sent shockwaves through Huaxia's audience. A clash with one of the three great civilizations seemed almost suicidal. But Lu Changsheng merely narrowed his eyes. So, they really think Huaxia is an easy target. Days later, within Huaxia's National War Command, preparations were already underway. The image of enslaved Sakura citizens lingered in Lu Changsheng's mind, fueling his resolve. He turned to Lu Qing. Which three cities did we lose? Ming Ao, Hong Harbor, and Yile. Lu Qing replied gravely. Yile alone could sustain an empire. Even if we pour in all resources, reclaiming it would take decades. Lu Changsheng clenched his fists. Then let it begin with us. If our forebears couldn't, we will. He requested the complete profiles of Huaxia's command-type deities. Lu Qing raised an eyebrow. You plan to use divine generals to reclaim the lost lands? Exactly. Moments later, an entire stack of classified dossiers appeared before him, each file bearing the sigil of Huaxia's mightiest gods of war. To Lu Changsheng's astonishment, the mighty Xiangyu, the conqueror himself, was listed only as a B-rank deity on the divine registry. When Lu Qing learned of the three gods Lu had chosen, his expression grew thoughtful. Wai Qi and Neza made sense. Both had proven their might in the War of the Gods. But Xiangyu? That seemed underwhelming. His doubt lasted only a moment. Within seconds, Lu Changsheng had elevated Xiangyu's divine avatar from C rank to a blazing double S tier. The synchronization rate between mortal and god skyrocketed to 90%. Seeing Lu's body tremble from exhaustion, the dean rushed forward. Stop! You've given too much already. You've done more than enough for Huaxia, the old man pleaded. But Lu simply closed his eyes, letting the spreading death aura wash over him. He began chanting the ancient incantation of ninefold mystic rebirth. A tidal wave of spiritual energy surged outward. The black miasma was obliterated instantly. When the pressure faded, Lu opened his eyes, a faint smile tugging at his lips. The technique worked. No more risk to his soul. Don't worry, he told the dean calmly. My true deity is Pangu, the creator. No spiritual backlash can touch me. The dean froze. Pangu? His mind reeled. Was this boy even mortal anymore? Once recovered, Lu turned his gaze back to the spectral form of Xiangyu. In Huaxia's long history, the overlord had stood peerless, yet no one had ever truly witnessed his divine glory. From this day forth, Lu murmured, the world will remember the name, Xiangyu, the invincible. A young woman rushed up to him, eyes shining. Lu Shun, you're my only idol. Beside her, the fiery Neza hovered, studying Lu from head to toe. Strange, Neza said. Why do you carry the aura of the patriarch? Realization struck Lu like lightning. One chi begets three purities. Taoyi Jinren was the disciple of Yuan Shi Tianzuan, one of the three purities, and Neza was Taoyi's student, meaning Neza was in essence Pangu's grand disciple. As the thought formed, a colossal silhouette appeared briefly behind Lu, the shadow of Pangu himself. Neza froze, tears welling in his eyes, as though he had just beheld a long-lost ancestor from 10,000 years ago. In truth, Neza's heart had never been evil. He was merely a boy starved of his father's love. Every act of rebellion, every spark of defiance, was just a cry for attention from Li Jing. Watching Neza's tearful reverence before the patriarch's phantom, Lu Changsheng raised his hand and began channeling divine energy into him. As the custom invocation was spoken, the air around them trembled with ancient power. Neza's body jolted. An overwhelming surge of godly essence erupted from within. Flames and wind spiraled beneath his feet. The wind-fire wheels ignited. The flame-tipped spear shimmered in his grip, and the Chinquan ring and red-armed silk blazed at his shoulders. His contractor, the girl beside him, gasped aloud. "Oh my God, our sync rate just jumped from 30 to 80%. Suddenly, the colossal shadow of Pangu appeared once more above them, his voice echoing like rolling thunder. "Enough. Since you are my grand disciple, let me bestow a little more upon you." In that instant, Neza's form changed again. 3 heads, 6 arms, his divine aura blazing like a newborn sun. Awestruck, Neza knelt and bowed deeply. "Grandmaster, this disciple will never forget your grace." With Pangu's blessing and Lu Changsheng's divine resonance, the girl, Lin Exent, was elevated to an S-rank divine contractor, her sync rate with Neza stabilizing at 86%. When it came to Lu Yanran, the girl bound to General Bai Qi, her eyes sparkled with pure admiration. Had Bai Qi not already received his full divinity, she would have begged Lu Changsheng for another empowerment. Soon, all the chosen deities and their human vessels assembled in the war hall. Lu Changsheng stood at the center, his voice steady yet commanding. "Listen well. What comes next will test the very limits of gods and men alike. Our next objective," Lu Changsheng declared, "is to reclaim Huaxia's 3 lost cities." His tone was calm, yet the command that followed silenced the entire war room. "Lu Qing will lead 30,000 troops. Neza, Xiangyu, and Bai Qi will each command their own fronts. We strike all at once." The city lord frowned. Even with most nations focused on the tournament, those colonies are heavily fortified. 30,000 won't be enough. Lu Qing smiled faintly. If not for Lu Changsheng, our losses would already be irreversible. Sometimes, faith in the young is the greatest strength of all. The words hung heavy. This was no simple mission, but a declaration of national rebirth. Lu Changsheng added, "We'll broadcast this campaign live. The people must see, gods still stand with Huaxia." The dean's brows furrowed. "If we fail, the entire world will laugh at us." "Then let them watch," Lu replied, smiling. "Because we won't fail." His voice rang like thunder through the command hall. "Prepare for deployment. This is a war for home. Notify Neza," he ordered. "Initiate divine combat protocol." Moments later, Neza led his army down upon the Tianju colony of Yile, the lost Huaxian land. Across the battlefield, a radiant figure emerged, 6 arms, 3 heads, astride a peacock of light. His voice boomed, "Impudent child, how dare you trespass upon the domain of Brahma, Lord of Creation?" Inside the command center, the dean paled. "That's the supreme deva of Bharata, Brahma himself." Lu narrowed his gaze. Brahma, one of the Trimurti, the highest deity of the Brahmanic order. After the Gupta Empire's fall, his influence waned. So why is he here, in a remote colony? He clenched his fists. Even Neza, in full form, might not last a single round against him. On the field, Neza stood firm, fire blazing beneath his feet. "Tianju's land? You must be joking. Yao was once part of Yangzhou, under Huaxia's 9 provinces." His spear ignited. "I've come to reclaim my homeland, and no god will stand in my way." In the control room, the dean shouted, "He's too reckless. That's Brahma we're talking about. Even an SSS tier god would crumble before the supreme creator." But Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed. "No, something's off. Brahma shouldn't talk this much. His aura, it's unstable." The sky turned green as Brahma's palms glowed with divine light. Interesting, Brahma spoke softly. So, you're a child of Buddha after all. Huaxia's Tao and our Dharma share the same root. Why not return to the true light? Neza's eyes burned. My fate is mine alone. Not even heaven decides it. With a roar, his heavenly sash shot forth, binding Brahma in scarlet ribbons of divine flame. Then, with his spear raised high, Neza launched himself skyward, a blazing comet streaking toward the god of creation himself. Watching the battle unfold, Lu Changsheng felt a quiet surge of pride. Neza, bold yet precise, struck like thunder, fierce, decisive, and without hesitation. Incredible, the dean gasped. Is this the power of a supreme deva? Even an SS-tier god can't break his defense. Sword Saint Lu Qing entered the command chamber, eyes sharp. Brahma's spiritual core is unstable. If Neza seizes the moment, he still has a chance. On the battlefield, Brahma preached calmly. You were born a child of Buddha. Accept your golden body. Receive the worship of millions. Do not stray from your path. Enough nonsense. Neza roared. His flaming spear thundered forward, blasting straight toward Brahma. Lu Qing narrowed his gaze. That isn't Brahma's true body. It was merely an astral avatar. Neza sneered. So that's the face of your gods. Empty shells and fancy robes. In a flash, he lunged, spear aiming to shatter the avatar completely. Shocked, Brahma raised the golden bowl of mercy to defend himself. Boom! A massive explosion rocked the battlefield. Thank heavens it's only an avatar, the dean breathed. Otherwise, even Neza might have fallen. Lu Changxing frowned. Brahma's influence has waned. Once a high god among the Trimurti, now reduced to sending avatars to preach in colonies. Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, each will be a formidable foe in the mythic arena. Meanwhile, in Hongdao, Xiangyu set fire to every ship, flames rising sky-high. Sons of Huaxia, he shouted, we've suffered long enough. Burn the ships, fight with no retreat. Reclaim our homeland. His soldiers roared in unison. That's the true conqueror king. To fight under Xiangyu, we die without regret. Back to the wall. Take back our land. The cry echoed through the burning harbor, thunderous and unyielding.